Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Tonight we are going to do a very unique showcase on Paine. I'm going to call this an extended showcase and character guide because this is a character that acts essentially differently as a different character depending on where you put them in the party. So I'm actually going to showcase her twice. And we're going to look at her buff side and we're going to look at her debuff side and see how she's looking. So if you're unfamiliar with her, the way she works is she has a lot of buffs and a lot of debuffs. And what you can do is if you put her in the middle party slot, she gets everything, but they're half as good essentially. Because her buffs stack up to 10, but if you put her in the middle, they only stack to 5. Okay? But what you can do with this character is you can fully commit to full buffer, and then you sacrifice your debuffs, but then the buffing is way better. It goes up to 10 stacks. Or you set up for just debuffing, and then your buffing you won't have any of the buffing stuff, but then the debuff goes up to 10 stacks is way better. So I think she's a very cool, versatile character for that. What I've been saying with Paine, if you decide to summon and invest in Paine, you're kind of getting two characters in one. So you're only using the resources on one character, but it's kind of like two different characters in your box. Very good utility, very good toolbox type character, right? So in this video, we're going to look at her artifacts, her spheres, and we're going to look at her calls, and we're going to do two showcases, right? Very unique. We're going to showcase her twice. The second showcase will be shorter because the base skills don't really change. A lot of it has to do with her overhead and her BT. Those are the two areas that are most impacted by this, right? So let's go ahead and start looking at the calls. I do think Paine's LD call is quite notable, right? The 15 call, nothing too crazy, just does an attack and it does a debuff called Status Break. The Status Break debuff does do an attack, defense, max brave, and eye brave down and speed down. So it's basically like, what, 5 debuffs packed into one? So that is actually decent. And then enemies with Status Break will also take weakness damage. So that's kind of cool also, right? So that's actually not the worst. But the LD, I think, is actually really, really good. So you do get Brave damage and Brave Stolen up versus enemies with Status Break. So that's cool. And just so you know, when the call comes in, the enemies immediately get Status Break. So if you press the LD when they don't have Status Break, she will come in, Status Break will inflict before she attacks, and so you will still get the benefit of that, right? The big thing I like about the LD, though, is it basically will cleanse debuffs off of the party, and it will remove buffs from the enemy. So that's very powerful. There are certain fights that really have gimmicks of like really insane buffs or really insane debuffs. Paine can kind of wipe those out, so that's very good to have on a call. So I do think Paine's call is pretty useful, right? All right, well, let's go ahead and look at Paine themselves, and we're going to do a couple things here before I forget. I just got the FR, so I got to go ahead and make sure that that's in the proper order. And then we are going to toss the Ultima weapon on to make sure I don't forget to do that. So we will borrow that from Gladio because we want Paine to look really good here. And we are doing this showcase without Quina. I know Quina could make her hit max numbers, but I'm probably going to make it a habit too, by the way, guys, to when I do these character guides to not do Quina, because we want to see what the character like naturally does, right? Like Quina's kind of a cheat code, so we got to see the characters in a more natural environment, I think, to properly assess them, right? Now we do not have the armor blued, so that's something to keep in mind, but I think the Ultima weapon will definitely compensate for that. We do not have the BT, but I will definitely be explaining the BT to you guys as we go through the character guide. But we have the FR, we have the rest of the kit, right? So for artifacts, what you want to do with Paine is you do want to go attack 108 and the C50 passive, which is Warrior of the Gull Wings boost. That is going to give basically all stats 5%. So that's definitely what you want to go with there. And then on the spheres, Paine is kind of a typical like damage dealer type build because ultimately like Paine's going to be doing a lot of supporting or debuffing, but Paine's going to bring some damage. She's going to bring the pain, so to speak, right? So doing typical like attacker type stuff is going to be good. So I'd say A slot, just go attack, brave damage. You could do like physical damage up as well because I believe Paine's got that. So if you want to go that route, you could. And then on the E slot, we're also going to go something with attack, right? So A slot, since Paine is a weakness damage character, even though Paine doesn't have an element, Status Break is going to give weakness damage, right? So I like Rydia because it is going to be brave damage and attack, which are two of the stats that Paine would want. So I just did double Rydias. I refined a bunch of Rydias the last time she was around because it's one of my favorite spheres to use. So I went ahead and just did that, right? Then on the E slot, but once again, so A slot, I'm not saying like Rydia is for sure the best one, but there's just so many. Just look at what you got. Look for attack, brave damage, or maybe like physical damage, something like that. Whatever spheres you have that will fill that, you're definitely good to go, right? Then on the E slot, I really like Paine's own sphere on any character that can deal weakness damage. So this is going to be a party attack up and then an enemy attack down. I think that is a really nice setup. I think Luna Freya's another one. Or no, Luna Freya's D slot, sorry. But other E slots that give attack. So this would be more like Yuffie, Emperor, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. Final Fantasy... Seymour. I was about to describe him again. I was going to say Final Fantasy X guy with blue hair. Seymour. Those are other types of E-slots that you could get maybe attack on. Although some of them might be magic attack. So you'd have to read them. But those are the ones I always recommend for attack. But just make sure it's not magic attack. Because Paine, I believe, is all physical attack. We can double check that really quick here. But I'm pretty sure... Yeah, Paine's all pretty much physical. I guess she does have some magic physical mix, so maybe you could go either. And she's actually got range too. So yeah, interesting kind of mix of attacks there. I would probably just do normal attack or brave damage anyways, though. I don't worry about it. So anyways, with that, yeah, let's hop in. So we're going to do 2 showcases. So the first showcase is we are going to show Paine in the debuff role. Now I want to make sure people understand this, okay? So the way this works, look at my Paine here on the screen, okay? If Paine is in this top slot, that is debuff roll, okay? Middle slot means you get both rolls, but half as good. Bottom slot means buff roll, okay? Now this is a debuff setup. The team composition here is very important because you need the other party members to kind of be working towards her role for her to actually function well. Now there's easy workarounds to this with calls, so don't stress about it too much. So let's go ahead and hop in. And I'm not going to worry about, well, no, I'm not going to worry. Well, sure, let's just grab like an Aerith, I guess, just to like something to force charge. Or we could do like a selfie. Sure, let's just grab an Aerith, just something to help us force charge a little bit. I guess that's fine. All right, so the first thing we've got to talk about with Paine is we got to talk about the overhead. And this overhead is Wild Throttle. It comes with the LD, okay? Oh, this is not the right fight. Hold up. This is not the fight I want to showcase. That is not the right... Let's go into the actual correct fight. I always do this. So it's on the fight I do. It's on the same island here, but I gotta go to this other stage here. Not that other stage wouldn't have been fine. It's just I'm not familiar with that fight, and I don't know if it's just gonna like insta-kill me. So I like to showcase on a fight where I know I'm not gonna be interrupted with. All right, shout out to Ryan D. Man. I'm pretty sure you're one of my regulars. We'll use your Aerith for this. All right. So we'll let the fight load up, but the first thing you're going to notice with Paine has an overhead. Now the overhead here tells you what role Paine is. So you see how there's like a red 5 on the left there? Red means you're in the debuff role. If you're blue, the blue symbol would appear on the right side and it would give you a number. And if Paine is in the middle slot, you'll actually see a red and a blue slot there. And then they'll have the stacks on them. So Paine here is just hopping in with 5 stacks of debuff roll immediately. The way you increase the stacks of this is for every 2 debuffs a party member to her left inflicts, it will go up a stack. Okay. Now this is debuff per enemy. So if a unit inflicts 1 debuff but it hits 2 enemies, that counts as 2. Okay. The other thing is let's say a character only inflicted 1 debuff. It won't go up a stack, but it remembers that it got one. And then if another character does 1 debuff, then it will go up a stack. Now, you can get the stacks up very quick if you're either inflicting a ton of debuffs, or if there are a lot of enemies hitting a debuff at once, you can definitely do that, right? So with Paine right away, let me just go over this overhead. So this overhead is full throttle. Now, there's going to be some things you always get with it, and then there's going to be some things we're only going to get in the debuff roll. So this first half of the showcase, we're just going to talk about the debuff stuff. So full throttle is going to do crit rate up 100%. So Paine's going to always be critting. HP damage, 5% per debuff. Okay. And then versus targets with status break, you get brave damage up, brave stolen up, and HP damage up. So that always comes with full throttle. Now on the debuff slot, okay, so the debuff stacks go up 1 for every 2 debuffs inflicted by allies. That stacks up to 10 if we're full investing, which we are. If we're in the middle slot, 5 is where it stays and you can't go above that, right? So what's going to happen is enemies get HP damage taken up, and that goes up to 50%, you guys. 50 HP damage up, by the way. Let me just say this right now. HP damage taken up is one of the most powerful debuffs in the game. This is like the prime thing we want on calls, right? Like Kurasame call is known as one of the best calls in the game for this, and it maxes out at 30%. Dude, 50% HP damage taken up is huge, but this is only if you full commit. If she's in the middle slot, you only get 25. Okay, so it's a huge difference. Brave damage and Brave gain minus 5%, and now we get, that goes up to 50%. So that's 50% Brave damage and Brave gain down on the enemies. A Brave poison, which is going to be 100% of her eye Brave. That is huge. And then HP damage dealt minus 4% per stack, so it goes to 40%. So dude, this is a 40% HP damage taken down for the party. So this is kind of like helping your party tank. The poisons are going to make sure the enemies hardly ever have Brave at all because they're going to be getting Brave poison. And then you're dealing 50% more HP damage. So in the debuff role, enabling a lot of damage to your damage dealers, those are quite potent, right? Now remember, they only get to those ridiculous numbers if you are committing to this far slot, right? All right, let's go ahead and just start with attacks here. So let's go ahead and do break attack. And sure, let's go ahead and hit the B enemy here with break attack. Let's see what the damage looks like. All right, so 600k, 300k, not the craziest, right? But she's not here to be a main damage dealer. We don't have debuff auras or anything like that up yet. Or we don't have burst auras is what I meant to say. So we did the attack there. She gets a buff called Dress Sphere. And then the enemies get that status break. So I kind of already explained status break. It's just 5 stats down, so it's a 5 debuff all in one. And then you deal weakness damage to status broken enemies. And then Dress Sphere gets 2 stacks. And so Dress Sphere is a stacking buff that goes up to 5. And you're going to see Dress Sphere, I already have it here. It's already maxed out. It starts out at 3 stacks, so you just pop one button and it's going to be maxed out. So Dress Sphere, let me go down to, sorry, the notes page for Paine is pretty crazy. There's a lot on here. So Dress Sphere at max stacks gives attack and max brave 70%, eye brave, defense and eye brave plus 30%. So we just get a bunch of those stats there, right? So that's what the Dress Sphere does. Now, here's what we're going to take a look at, right? So I paired Paine here with Lilith and Sarah. These are characters that are debuffing characters. So notice that Paine has that red 5 on her overhead. Remember, Paine cannot increase this herself, and you want to get it to 10 as soon as possible, right? Now, here's the thing. If you don't want to bring other debuffers, calls should work as well, right? Now, Raigen's only going to be a single. Well, sure, let's just pop Raigen. So we'll let Raigen go. So Raigen, let's see here. Yep, applied the debuff, and you see the stack went up to 6. So Raigen does a singular debuff, but it hit both enemies, so that counts as 2 debuffs. So with the call, we were able to raise it 1 stack, right? So now let's go ahead and, I mean, if I pop like Wound, that should, well, once again, the enemy's going to be over debuff, but yeah. So right there, we went up to 8 stacks. So we got 2 stacks because Sarah inflicted 2 debuffs to each enemies, which is 4 total debuffs. So even though it sounds like a lot to like have a character do 2 debuffs, it's not. When you got multiple enemies, it goes quick, right? Then what you could do is you could bring a call like a Miditelian or Ferris, and you're going to instantly max it out if there's multiple enemies, because they each do like 4 debuffs. Like, it's crazy. So if you don't want to like focus on bringing other debuffers, just bring a Miditelian or like a Ferris call, or like Caius call, I think does 3. So you could get a lot on Caius really quick, and you'll have it instantly. The other thing is with Lilith in particular, Lilith can do Sensual Dance, which is a force charging instant move that debuffs. So if you wanted to, you could just do this with Lilith until Paine is all the way at 10 stacks. And now you can see Paine's overhead's at 10. This is not a buff that falls off. We just have this now. And the big thing is with this being an overhead, the enemies can't get rid of it. Like, it's always there. So now all those insane debuffs I talked about, they're just there for the fight, and you're good to go. So Paine, like, looking pretty good here on the debuff side, right? All right, so let's go ahead. Actually, I will do a Miditelian. Now, that would have done a ton. That was, what, like 8 debuffs or something crazy? So, yeah, we would have got 4 stacks on that one thing. We'll just pop the LD here. And what I'll do is I'm going to kind of go through Paine's normal kit, and then we will go through the FR phase here. All right, so now let's go ahead and do Black Sky. Take a look at that. All right, okay, about a mil AoE. That was actually impressive. Now, part of that now is due to the fact that we've got like having Paine up to 10 stacks makes a huge difference. Remember, we got that 50% up, right? Which is really crazy, that 50% HP damage up. So that was really good damage there. So I think that's the reason why Paine's initial attack didn't look that good. Her things take into account like what she's going to look like after the debuffs are up. Let's go ahead. I want to get a burst effect up here with Sarah to help Paine look even better. Just out of curiosity, I want to, like, just so you guys can see the difference here, we're going to look at that same, we're going to do the 15 attack, because remember, it wasn't that impressive. It was like 600k. We're going to look at it again now that we have a BT effect up, and we got the debuff aura up to 10 stacks. Let's just see how much that all improved Paine's output here on that attack. We can just do a 1-for-1 comparison, right? So let's go ahead and let's hit break attack again. Remember, this was 600k before. Okay, about 900k. So we just did what, like a 30% upgrade on that? That was pretty dang good. Now that we're doing like about a mil on every button press, now that's like competitive damage, right? That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and sure, we'll just Moonlight here. And they do have Raijin Call on, so we should be safe from any shenanigans here, I think. They got the Raijin debuff going. And there you're seeing the HP poisons come into play. I mean, you don't really see because they don't have Brave, but yeah. And look at the Brave gains at 0. Single damage. You guys see that right now? We just took single digit damage. We've got them so debuffed. It's insane. That's pretty dang good. Like you saw, like how often do you see an enemy sitting on the screen with 2 Brave, right? 2 Brave. Because what that tells you is they weren't able to Brave gain because we got them so drained on that, and then they're only hitting us for freaking 1s. We got an enemy there with 2. So dude, these debuff comps can be quite powerful, in really like it's kind of a way to mitigate needing to use a tank, right? Because Paine herself, like I said, in this stance, you're getting HP damage taken down 40%, and you're kind of refusing the enemy's ability to damage you in Brave Gain and all that stuff, and you're HP poisoning them, so you're poisoning them down to 0, then they're hitting you for 1s, they can't gain anything. It's pretty powerful. It is quite powerful. The thing I'll say with Paine, she's kind of like a character you gotta, you know, she's not super simple to play, but I don't think she's that crazy either. You just gotta put a little thought into how you use her, what position you're gonna put her in, all that stuff, right? So sure, we'll hit the AA. This is gonna increase our attack against debuff targets, do some other buffs as well. And then we're gonna go ahead and hit Wild Throttle, which is the LD. Now this is, once again, by having the LD, this gives you the overhead, so very important. Okay, dude, 1.6 million. Wow, that's pretty good. 1.6 mil for this character who I would not consider to be a main DPS character, right? So Wild Throttle, this is really good because, once again, we said the LD call was really good. This is like a full like cleanse out, right? So like any debuffs you have, gone. Any buffs the enemy has, gone. Very, very powerful. And then this gives her 3 stacks of the Dress Sphere. Very good. So the Dress Sphere is the easy buff, right? Because you get on the 15 and 35. Like all these attacks do it. So you're just going to be staying at 5 stacks. But the notable thing with the LD is that cleansing aspect of it. And then the fact that it enables you to have the overhead, which is like one of the main parts of her kits. Like you got to have the LD, right? All right, let's go ahead and just attack here. We'll do a Whirlybird here. All right, and let's go ahead and bring Aerith in for a little charge action. Let's go ahead and get a little charge action going here. And yeah, I really probably didn't need to do that, but that's fine. We're just going to charge all the way up. We'll just do all the moves so we can get Aerith kind of off the board here. And then we're going to be ready to go into Paine FR, and then we'll talk about BT as well, right? Okay. One more. All right, so now we're fully charged and ready to go. All right, now we're back to Sarah. Sarah here will just do an attack. Have I done the LD yet? I don't think I've done the LD yet. Let's LD with Sarah. All right, so now we got Paine back. Oh, yes, and we got the lightning follow-ups. Yeah, 1.2 mil. I mean, we can notice the damage coming from other characters from that HP damage up, right? So that's very good as well. Yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, we have to do EX too, actually. Let's do the EX first before we hop into Force, so we can see this without the Force multiplier. So let's do Sword Dance Plus. What kind of damage? Let's see. Yeah, 1.3 mil on the EX AoE. Very good. I am very happy with Paine's damage. That is very good. So the EX. Now, the way you get the plus version is from having the Dress Sphere at 5 stacks, which you're going to have instantly, right? Like, you basically press a button, it's going to be at 5 stacks. So don't worry about that. You should always have the EX plus. So that's going to do the AoE attack. It does give her a skill use of skill 1 and skill 2. Or no, sorry, just skill 1. Sorry. And then she gives herself a buff called Wing Power. So let's go ahead and take a look at Wing Power here. Wing Power is a party attack and max brave up, eye brave and defense up, and a speed up. And then the enemies get like 5 stats down. So that's very good. So a lot more debuffing packed into one. Very, very good. So now we're going to go ahead and go into FR after that. The one thing is she does have an HP plus attack or a brave plus attack. So we might press that for funsies at some point. We are just going to wound. That's fine. Lightning will chime in. Make that... Dude, 1.5 mil on a wound. That's pretty dang good. All right. Yeah, because we have that triple cut plus. So I do want to see that at some point. But let's get into FR. This is called Dark Shroud. Let's pop that off. With that Dark Knight Cecil, huh? Pretty fire. Pretty good. All right. So about 2 mil AoE. Okay, that's pretty good. Solid damage. Let's talk about what the FRs we got going on here, right? So the FR also does that total cleanse thing, so it takes care of your debuffs and gets rid of all the enemy buffs. So that's very good. Did the big attack as we saw there. And then it does put status breakdown on everybody if you didn't have it already. And then the HP multiplier. So if you attack an enemy with status break 20%, that's going to be free for any character because if Paine's in the party, the enemy should have status breakdown. If you have a stacking buff effect on an active ally, it's plus 30%. So that's not as easy for everyone to have. So you'd want to have a party of stacking characters, right? Or I think Paine is the type of character you probably would just go through like her own burst phase is probably what you would do, right? Because Paine's going to have everything she needs. And then if there's a party buff or enemy debuff that has a count of 10 or more on turn. So it's got to be like a count up buff or debuff that counts up to 10 to get 30%. So all in all, Paine is going to give 80%. So what I would do is if you're going to use Paine's FR, I would just plan to go through Paine's burst phase. So what I would do is I would like do all the setup, whatever, pop Paine FR, do a couple of Force Echo attacks, get to turn 7 or 8, and then just go into Paine BT, and then just let her get 80% the whole way and you're good. That's probably the way I'd run that FR. Otherwise, just use her as an Echo. And that's great. You got an Echo, right? That's really, really good there. All right, so let's go ahead. Sure, let's Echo and go crazy. I usually regret doing this because I kill them too fast, but we've pretty much seen Paine's whole kit at this point, right? So, and once again, remember, we're going to go back in. We haven't even seen the buff side yet. So this is, once again, a very unique character guide. We're doing double showcase here tonight. All right, let this kind of go through here. Let the enemy do their thing. All right. Good thing we had Raijin, because that gaze, I think, can paralyze. So we're lucky that we had that nullified there. Go ahead and do that with Lila Set. Pop an EX. Get some big damage. Okay. Alright, so with Paine, I kind of want to take a look at this triple cut plus. Let's just take a look at this triple cut plus here. It's just a 6-hit melee brave attack. Does it even do HP damage? Okay, nope. I was just wondering why it wasn't on the Tomberry Troop infographic, because that's got a very unique name to it. Usually those attacks are good, but no, you don't ever want to press that. You don't ever want to do just a brave attack. So for science, we use triple cut plus. Yeah, y'all don't need to use that. It's literally just a brave attack. Wow. They need to upgrade that. Make that actually do some HP dumps or something, or do like a unique debuff, or free instant turn maybe would be fine, just to make sure she has brave, like something like that, right? So that's basically it. We'll just pop off another FR here. We'll do like an Echo. Alright, let's let Paine do an Echo here. Ooh, the HP poisons are getting pretty heavy. Here, we'll go summon phase so the enemies don't mess with us. Alright, there's some pretty good damage. Alright, let's echo this bad boy out. Alright, at 500%, what is Paine's FR looking like? How much damage we got on this? Okay, 10 mil. That's solid. That's definitely solid. Because that means that would be like 20 mil AoE if it was pretty much at full. That's not too shabby. So I was going to just like duck out of the fight, but like these enemies are about to pop. So sure, we'll just pop them. And then we're going to hop back in, but we're going to do a different team comp. And we're going to look at Paine in a different role. And then you can directly compare the numbers, right? There'll be some different factors though, right? Because we'll have different auras going on and things like that. But we'll kind of see in general what Paine's looking like. But yeah, there you go. This is going to be debuff Paine. We'll let Paine, the girl of the hour, finish it off here. What do we want to finish with? Let's finish with the Sword Dance EX. At 750%, what do we got for damage here? Alright, well, we didn't get to see the final damage, but there you go. So that's Paine debuff side. So now we're going to hop in and do Paine on the buff side. And I've got a team comp ready to go. So it shouldn't be too bad. But just seeing the debuff side, man, those are powerful, man. That overhead is ridiculous. And once again, the enemies can't get rid of it. It's like an aura. Like you can't, the enemies can't get rid of it. It doesn't like expire. It's just there. You just got to get that to 10 stacks. And like I said, you can do that pretty much instantly. Just bring the right call. Bam, you got it. Okay, so let's hop in again. And now I've got this team comp here. So notice now we're going to put Paine on the bottom slot. So now we're going to do the buff roll. And I'm putting her with the other characters that buff. Pinello is like for free. Like it's like you just like double tap with Pinello and you got it. And then once again, you could bring like calls that do it if for some reason you don't think you've got enough calls in the party. You definitely could do that. So let's go ahead and hop in again. And we'll take a slightly different look at Paine. Now this part will be a lot quicker because I'm not going to go through all the normal stuff. We're just going to talk about the differences. Oh, we got to talk about the BT though. So before I start doing anything here on the buff side, let's talk about the BT, and we're going to talk about it for the debuff side, which we just did, right? So the BT, it's always going to give some generic buffs normally. So what you're going to get is Brave damage limit up, HP damage limit up, and then HP damage taken up and Brave damage taken up. So those will always come with the BT. Now, depending on what side you're on, you're going to get something different. So one thing you're going to get, so we'll talk about the debuff. Well, I'll just go through it all right now, right? Let's just go through it all. So on the debuff side, you get a debuff called Mute Wing. And what the Mute Wing does is it's actually HP silences. And then your allies will actually increase the stacks of that. So you can, so any allies to the left of Paine would increase the stacks of Mute Wing. So you can keep the HP silence kind of going, right? And let me just go back down on here to make sure I've got... Yeah, just HP silence. And it's basically any allies that attack that are to the left of Paine, it'll be one turn per their attack. They'll extend the debuff Mute Wing. So it's just a very strong HP silence you're going to get. And then Paine always does an HP poison. But if you're on the debuff side, it's 1500% of her attack is an HP poison. So that's pretty darn strong. That is the largest HP poison in the game. Now, if we were going into the BT on the buff side, which is what we're in right now, instead of Mute Wing, you get a buff called Pumice Feather. And what happens is Pumice Feather is going to stack every time an ally takes a turn or when they attack. And if an ally gets 3 stacks of it, they basically get a free instant turn. And then it will reset and they build the stacks again and then can get another free instant turn. So this is going to help your allies get extra turns, which is very, very powerful, right? But then the HP poison goes all the way down to 500%. So you'll still get the HP poison, but it's only 1/3 as good, right? You're only getting 1/3 of the damage than if you committed to the full debuff side, right? So that's the BT effect in a nutshell. Let's go ahead. We're starting a new fight here. This will be a lot shorter, though. We're just going to talk about the differences for the buff side and kind of just see what the numbers are looking like here a little bit. Let's go ahead and sure, we'll pop that with Garnet. And then we'll get BT effect up. And you'll see Paine is already up to 6 stacks because Garnet has already buffed. Oh no, it's at 5 stacks, sorry. So one thing I should clarify was when we did the debuff side and Paine started at 5 stacks, it doesn't actually start at 5 stacks, but we had so many debuffs inflicted immediately that it actually rose it to 5 stacks from the party members on the left. So here, the buff side started lower than that, but Garnet already did do some buffing. Like watch here with Pinello, watch, let's just pop Haste Rumba. And then bam, we did it once and it went up to 8 stacks because she did party-wide buffs. So it just shot right up instantly. So with Pinello, it's just like bam, bam, and we're going to be at 10 stacks right there. Because once again, when you're hitting 3 party members, you're doing ×3 on every buff. So it's very easy to get that built up. So yeah, and on the debuff team comp we had, it just started at 5 because we had so many natural debuffers that just came in and threw a bunch of debuffs down right as the fight started, right? All right, so now with Pinello, I mean, sure, we could go a little bit crazy and try to get to a force time, but we just kind of want to get in to see what Paine looks like here in this mode and see if the numbers look drastically different or not. Yeah, let's pop BT effect. So this is going to be Paine with like double BT effects of very good, very relevant support characters, right? Very good auras coming here. All right. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Paine's overhead because that is at 10 stacks. So let's talk about the buff side. So once again, we're going to get the normal full throttle stuff, which is the crit rate, the HP damage per debuff, and then status break, you get the weakness damage, and then brave damage up, brave stolen up, HP damage up. That's all there still from the before. But now, instead of getting all the debuff stuff, we're going to get a bunch of buff stuff. So now what the buffs are going to do is we're going to get brave damage plus 6% per stack up to 60. So now we got 60% brave damage up. We get brave stolen up to 50%. We get brave gain on brave hits up to 20% of the character's max brave. We have brave gains and overflow 40%. Okay, so those are all good buffs and very, very high numbers on the buffs, and that's if you full invest, right? So let's go ahead and let's just do some attacks. Let's just start with like the break attack. Let's see what this is looking like here. All right, so there, what was that, 1.5 mil with some splash? So yeah, looking pretty good there. Once again, slightly different team comp, but now we're getting a bunch of powerful buffs as opposed to debuffs. Garnet, sure, let's just do an Aquamarine. So 800k on the Aquamarine from Garnet. And then Pinello, sure, let's go ahead and do this. I want to turn manipulate a little bit. Stay ahead of the enemies here. I'm not going to worry about the launch damage. Okay, and then let's go ahead and... sure, we'll Fatal Dance. Why not? All right. So we did the 15. Let's take a look at the 35. Once again, just seeing what the numbers look like in buff mode. All right, 1.2 mil AoE. Yeah, very good. I mean, once again, we're still getting like a mil per button press here, right? Or more. That's kind of become the standard with these characters. We're hitting like a mil or more on most of these relevant characters. Sure, let's Aquamarine again. All right, let's go ahead and do... Sure, let's see what Wild Throttle's looking like. We'll kind of just see the attacks here. What was that, 2 mil? I think that was 2 mil. That was a lot of numbers there. But yeah, the damage I think was pretty good there. All right, Pinello will Fatal Dance again. Okay, Garnet. Sure, let's pop Garnet's LD. And then we should be able to get into a Paine Force, and we can just hop into that again. Now, the mode doesn't affect the Force at all. No, like the Force is going to be the same no matter what mode you're in. Really what it is, just to kind of like recap this, it's the overhead buff is the most heavily affected thing, and then the BT. So unfortunately, like the BT is actually pretty significant, like which mode you're going to want. But we don't have that here. But I still think Paine is going to be good FR only for sure, because you're still getting the insane debuffs and the insane buffs off of it. So I definitely don't mind that at all. Let's go ahead and pop the FR. And we'll just see the damage here, and then we'll kind of just do a quick little recap. And the main thing I'm going to recap is the differences between which modes here, right? All right, pretty good damage. All right, let's hop out of the fight. We're going to hop out of the fight. Now, what I'm going to say overall, my assessment just off of what I've seen here, I think for me, I kind of like the debuff side a little bit better, just because debuffers, like really powerful ones, are less common. Like buffers are way more common. And those debuffs were, like, I like the idea of she's actually enabling damage through the HP damage taken up, but then also being very defensive, which I think is very valuable. So I think if I'm going to use Paine, I'm probably more likely to use her on the debuff side. I do really, really like how she was looking on that debuff side, right? So I'm going to try to summarize this as best as I can just at the end of the video to help you guys understand. So remember, top slot debuff mode, bottom slot is buff mode, okay? And the main difference here is on the debuff side, you're getting a way more powerful HP poison on the BT effect, and you're doing HP silence. That's what you're getting on the BT. And then you're also getting really powerful debuffs, which include HP damage taken up, brave damage and brave gains down on the enemy, brave poison, and HP damage dealt down on the enemies, right? If you opt to go buff side, then you're getting a lot of brave stolen, brave damage up, brave gaining up, overflow up. You're getting all that on the party. And then you're getting the pumice feather, which is free instant turns every 3 actions. And that's really like the best way I can summarize it. And then remember, if you're in buff mode, you need your allies or allies calls to do buffs. And if you're in debuff mode, you need your allies or allies calls to do debuffs, right? So anyways, let me know what you think of Paine. I think she's a really great Swiss Army knife, a really cool character to have in your toolbox. I'm glad I have her. I think she's a lot of fun. I do want the BT. Maybe with my BT tokens, we'll see what's around at the time, but she is a candidate for me, I think, for BT tokens. So let me know if you like Paine or not. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.